Hey everybody, this is Bradley Benner with the Gadget. It is 7:30 p.m. on June 25th. This is the training webinar week number 15. We got some stuff we want to go over tonight that Brian wanted me to bring to you guys' attention and give you some ideas for ways to monetize building sites. So it's pretty cool. And him and I got on a webinar earlier this week, or a hangout, and discussed it and kind of walked through it. And I think it's a good idea. And so we're going to kind of go through that tonight. Don't have any updates on the case study stuff because, obviously there's been issues with hosting and all that because of the upgrades and the changeover. So I don't have anything to update you guys on that. But we're going to talk about the other stuff and go through some slides that he put together and kind of walk through setting up a Fiverr gig, believe it or not. So I think it's a great idea. We're going to talk about that, guys. Also, if you have any questions, post them right on the events page, and I will get to those as as needed. So let me see if there's anything to start off with. Kevin, looks like Kevin's here. What's up, Kevin? Michael Dawes, there's just a couple people here right now. All right, cool. Well, guys, I got the camera turned off. Hopefully the audio is coming through okay. There's been some issues with Hangouts the last couple days with audio being a little bit choppy. I'm not sure why. It generally is much better in the replay, but if you guys are experiencing that, then just relax because the replay should be better. I'm going to go ahead and grab the screen, and we're going to talk about this Fiverr thing, which I think is a fairly good idea. And so let's go ahead and do that. All right. So what Brian was talking about was setting up a Fiverr gig because, and I'm sure a lot of you that are familiar with Fiverr, I mean, who isn't, right? Know that there are a ton of gigs in there that it's not just $5 anymore. It used to be for a long time where there were like slight upsells or what they call gig extras, where you could, like people would charge an extra $5 or $10. But now there's like a ton of gigs in there where it's like $5 for like something really, really stupid that really wouldn't even be worth $5. But then the upsell is like $50 or $100 or whatever. And I've seen that on several gigs, like link building gigs and things like that. So, and a lot of like voiceovers or video gigs are the same way. They'll charge you like $5 for, like for example, for a voiceover gig for like 30 words or 50 words, spoken words. But then anything over that, they charge you like $20. So there's a lot of gigs there that people, and it's a pretty big marketplace that people go to now. And it's getting a lot of attention outside of the IM world now as well. And so because of that, there's a demand, or should be a demand for, like normal business owners that are outside of the IM world, the internet marketing world, that are going to be, Fiverr's going to generate more traffic and more visitors that are outside of the IM world is what I'm saying. So there's an opportunity there to set up basically some gigs for building out sites, like what they plan, what Brian and Don plan on doing for the 39 leads platform. Okay, obviously that's not set up yet, and that's going to be a while out. I mean, we first got to get through the hurdles of all these changes that are coming. Number one, and then once that's done, smooth all that stuff out. That's going to, probably there will be some residual stuff that needs to be taken care of, and then they're going to start working on setting up the 39 leads platform for us, which I think is going to be pretty big for all of us that are in the group. A great way to monetize. And so in the meantime, though, this could be a good alternative. And I hadn't really thought about it, but Brian brought it to my attention, and when we walked through it the other day, it dawned on me that this is actually a pretty good idea. And I'm going to kind of relay some of what my initial fears were when he was talking about this with me. Because I think some of you guys might have some of the same doubts that I did at first, but then in thinking about it more over the last few days, I realized that there's there is really a lot of opportunity here. And so we're going to kind of go through these slides just so you can see this. These are slides that Brian prepared, that he created for just a short 60-second video for the gig, when you add a gig to Fiverr or post a gig to Fiverr so that you can, be a provider. And then we'll jump into my Fiverr account, and we'll kind of set up a mock gig for the time being, just to kind of walk you guys through it. But I would recommend that you spend some time developing your own creatives and your own pitch and your own angle as well. And what I mean by that is that there's and I might as well talk about one of the first thoughts I had was, well, if we get everybody in the Lead Gadget group to start submitting Fiverr gigs, we're all going to be competing with each other. But Brian made a really wise point when he said, well, no, it's about the angle that you present your gig, because you could say, I'll build, contractor or, HVAC lead gen sites. Does your HVAC business need leads, or, HVAC leads, whatever. You could do that. And then you could do, insurance leads, or, carpet cleaning leads, or any kind of leads that you could think of. I think in the contractor terms all the time, because that's most of my business is dealing with contractors, but it could be anything is my point. Real estate leads, it could be mortgage leads. It could be anything that you want that you could actually come in here and add for, drive leads, leads to build your email list with our lead generation services. It could be any type of leads that you think. So there's a way to really separate yourself, or to stand out from everyone else, or go niche focused, which I highly recommend anyways, because when you focus in on one niche, you get really, really, really proficient at that niche, and you're able to scale quicker, in my opinion, than to jump all over the damn place. So that's one way that you could, stand out from the crowd, or make yourself like the exclusive provider for that. And also, like Brian stated in the Facebook group, in one of his posts when he talked about this training that was going to be tonight, it's also, it's part of it is survival of the fittest. If you want it bad enough, you're going to figure out ways to make yourself stand out. And one thing I would recommend, though, is that we don't all get into bidding wars and bid each other down. Kind of stick together and have an understanding that we're not going to charge any less than a certain amount, if whatever that may be, $75 per site or whatever, so that we're not, and obviously it would have to be, hopefully everybody would agree to that, so that there's not like one person coming in and say, oh, well, I'm going to build them at $60 a site. But even if that's the case, there's still ways that you can get the higher, command a higher price than the next guy. And that's if you do better work and, that sort of thing. So, and you market yourself better. So I have not actually set a gig up in Fiverr ever. I've spent thousands of dollars on Fiverr, no kidding, for gigs that I've purchased, but I've actually never set up a gig. So we're going to kind of walk through that briefly today, and we'll go through these slides as well. Let me just check and see if we have any questions come on. Let's see. Tony says, hello, audio sounds good here. Okay, good. I hope so, guys, because it's been it's just like these slight blips in the audio that have been happening the last couple of days, and I'm not sure why, but it's been a little bit annoying. So if that's the case, I apologize, but deal with it, right? All right. So these are the slides that Brian put together to create just like a little 60-second video when you start to upload a gig. And let's jump over to the Fiverr real quick, and we'll take a look at this. So from inside your Fiverr dashboard, guys, you come over to your username and hover, and you'll see that your drop down comes down here. You can go to My Sales and click on that, and then from here you can see Create a Gig or My Gigs if you've already got a gig up there. Of course, I never have, so either way, if I just click on that, it's going to bring you to this screen where it says Create a Gig. All right, so from here, you would say Create a Gig, and then here's where you say I will is already part of it, so you don't have to put that in, and you just start after that and say, build a, I don't know, let's say pest control leads and site or something like that, right? I would suggest, if any of you guys pursue this method, that you set up multiple gigs and test different headlines, test different descriptions, test different banners or images, test different tags, test different categories, because that's that's part of how you're going to be able to determine. It's just like anything else, guys. It's just like running ads, and we'll talk about that too. But you want to dial it in to find out what's going to get you the most exposure and the most conversions, right? So it's just like anything else in marketing. You want to test, and the things that you start to find traction in, go repeat and scale, right? And so I would recommend that you do that. So I don't know, like if pest control leads, I think that would probably be a pretty good, term, but I don't know without testing, guys. So I'm just letting you know. All right, so then what we do is we'd select a category. I would think it would either be business or it would be programming and tech if somebody knows that they're going to be purchasing, like they're looking for somebody to help them build a lead gen site, but I'm not really sure. So maybe advertising even, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really sure which, online marketing, I don't know. That might be more just for the IM crowd. So I would play with these different categories as well. Let's just stick with business and see what the subcategories are. And this would be business plans, career advice, branding services, either other. Let's go see what the subcategories are for some of these other ones. Let's check advertising. Banner advertising or other advertising might not be a bad one. I can see banner advertising. That might be okay because you could essentially sell. That's interesting. Think about that. You could probably set up some lead gadget sites and then sell banner ads through Fiverr on your lead gadget sites. Think about that. I had never even thought about that until just now, but that might not be a bad way to monetize your site too. Like charge people $5 to have an ad on your site for a month or something. I don't know. That would be worth playing with a little bit too. Other could be a good one. Let's look at programming and tech. Website builders and CMS, that would be a good one, I would assume, if people were looking for website builders. Let's see, there's a couple other ones in here. WordPress, that'd be another one. So I just wanted to kind of play with these and see. Here's online marketing. See SEO, there's one maybe. Although people that are looking for that are probably looking for SEO services, not like sites that are actually built. Get traffic, maybe. If somebody's looking for traffic, you could possibly sell them on building them a site that would drive traffic to their offer. I don't know how many local businesses are looking for that, but it would be worth testing, right? So there's a lot of them here that I think we could test to see which ones were which. Then there's a cover photo. I'm assuming that the cover photo is going to be that's what it is. It says over here. It's that big green banner at the top. By the way, if you guys want to take a look, let me just quickly jump over here. If you want to see what Brian set up for this, see, it was Fiverr.com. I think it was just /lead gadget. Yep, that's it. This is the one that Brian set up. If you guys want to see it, just go to Fiverr.com /lead gadget. Here, I'll drop it on the events page. Ganty's tardy. We'll put the dunce cap on and go sit in the corner, Ganty. What's up, man? I'm glad you're here. So you can see like what Brian's already got set up. He set up a couple of them. One of them he set up with me the other day when we were talking about it. So this is the banner image up here that we are just looking at on the gig setup page. Let me move that over. So that's this. The gigs gallery. This is the images. I think you'd want to put images in there, and then there's somewhere else. Maybe after you've set up the gig, you can go back and add a video. And the video gigs, Fiverr says get like, I don't know, something crazy like 212% more engagement or higher click-throughs or something like that. So I think it would be worth doing. And in fact, that's what this slideshow was really put together for by Brian, was just so he could very quickly talk through it in 60 seconds, because I think the video has to be 60 seconds or less, and then post that as the video. Now, keep in mind and I don't know if we'll get to that point. Depends on how far we actually get through this mock setup right now. But there's I think each gig has to have a unique video according to the terms of service for Fiverr. So you could just do the same slides over and over again, just record the audio slightly different every time, right? So you could just do that, or you could actually change like background or templates or some shit and make it a little bit better, okay? Description, you get up to 1,200 characters. I would be, if you want to take a look at the description that he put together, let's just go look at this gig here. And you can see that the description that he has here, I tend to like, more line breaks and stuff, excuse me, so that more paragraph breaks so that it reads a little bit easier. But, whatever, as long as it works, right? So here's just some ideas for what he wrote in there. Again, guys, I would recommend testing, setting up multiple gigs for the same thing, but different categories, different copy, different call to action, that sort of thing, and seeing what works, okay? So let me see if I can. I don't want to actually set one up because I'm not prepared to actually start taking any gigs at the moment. So I'm definitely not gonna set one up. But tags, guys, when you start to type in tags, you'll see that they have suggested tags, and because of, I think all you're allowed to use is suggested tags. Like I don't think you can put your own custom tags in there, but that's okay, because if that were the case, then Fiverr database of tags would be huge and it would be inconsistent. So it's actually good that they have suggested tags, because it allows people when they're searching for certain services to be directed to pages that have common tags, right, with among the gigs. So like sales leads, right? Then the other one was business leads. And then let's see if there was another one just for leads. There's lead. I don't know what really if that would be good or not, but there's a minimum of 3 tags. I don't know, maybe SEO, possibly SEO service, maybe WordPress. Let's see, maybe we could say WordPress, WordPress, or install WordPress, maybe. Again, I would play with these tags. I'm trying to think of what else we could say in there that might be valuable. Let's check business. Local business, possibly. Local business would be a good one, right? If you're building sites for local businesses. I think there's a huge opportunity here, and we're going to talk about how to get traffic to these too in just a minute. But anyways, let's just go ahead and go with those 4 for now. And then this is your delivery time. So I would suggest doing something like 7 to 10 days on a normal site build. And then obviously you could charge as an upsell or a gig extra, delivery in 3 days if you pay an extra, $25 or whatever the hell it is you decide. So let's just say 10 days. That's what I would do, guys, something like that. And then the buyer instructions, these are the instructions that the buyer receives after they've purchased the gig. So you want to be descriptive up here in what your gig is going to, provide. And you got to make it real clear up here too, guys, that, they're not getting a 30,000 page lead gen site built for $5. If you look at the wording that Brian did, he says that he'll generate a proper leads gen form for your company for $5. And I'm assuming a leads gen form would be like an Aweber form, right? Or something like that has the name, NAP, name, address, phone number, like forms that you can fill out. So that, call to action type form. So that's what I'm thinking that he meant here. But then it says, to build your company profile, they order the $5 gig. Then there are many extras. And then he says, first the extra is we will build a multi-network optimized lead generation site, or multi-keyword, optimized lead generation site that will send you exclusive leads for $75. To me, this includes the domain name at our expense. To me, that seems pretty decent. Guys, that's not bad. These sites don't have to be like super freaking optimized, awesome sites, that you spend a ton of time on. Those of you that have been building for a while could probably slap a site up very, very quickly. And for $75, that's pretty damn good, even if you're paying for the domain. And guys, who's to stop you from using subdomains, right? If you buy one domain, let's say that you are targeting or focusing in on just doing pest control leads. You could buy like a local pest pros domain, right? .whatever domain, and then use subdomains with the city name in for the cities that you sold this to. You see what I'm saying? So like, for example, if you did Dallas or Tampa or, Phoenix or something like that, you could create subdomains and you say this includes the domain name at our expense. Well, they don't have to know you only purchased one domain, right? And that you're using subdomains. Who cares? So just to let you know, that's like a pretty good idea. And for $75 to me seems reasonable. Brian said to me the other day, well, that might be a little bit too high. And I beg to differ. I wouldn't want to do it for less than that. I think that's a pretty decent price. Okay. Then one of the gig extras is you can do an upsell. And I don't think they allow you to do multiples of 5. It's not going to let me do pricing unless I actually fill all this out. I'm not going to fill this out, guys. So, but I don't think they'll let you do multiples of 5 when you get up. So I don't think you can do, I think it says $25 for hosting for the year, but it would only allow them to select 20, right? Which was this one right here. So just so you know that, just keep that in mind when you're filling out your gig description. All right. And then there's also, he says, another one was, I'll build a specialized landing page for your company that will be extremely appealing and will help convert traffic to leads exclusively for you for another $90. And that's not a bad idea too, guys, because think about this. There are other Fiverr providers right here on Fiverr that will build customized landing pages for you for like $5, or with a couple gig extras or whatever. It might cost you like 20 or $25. So essentially that's called arbitrage, right? When you take some money from somebody to have something done, and then you turn around and hire it out if you wanted for like $20, and then you just collect the difference. So my point is then just because it's all wrapped up in 1 gig, it's convenient for the buyer, especially local businesses that aren't IM people like we are, right? They might not want to go through the hassle of looking for people to build landing pages and everything. They just kind of would want it from one location, a one-stop shop, so to speak. And then you could either build it yourself, or you could hire somebody from Fiverr or somebody from Odesk, or now Upwork, I guess it's called, or something like that, to build landing pages for you for a few bucks, and then you just collect the difference, right? And you just focus on the lead get or the ATM site builds, right? So just a thought, but it's a pretty good idea, man. I mean, then he talks about doing keyword research for $20 as another upsell. And there's multiple things, guys, that you could think of. Just get creative with different types of gig extras that you could provide within a gig, and start thinking about that. I mean, like I said, as soon as I am able to start building again, I'm still waiting and hoping to be able to build in the next few days as well. I've got some case studies that I've been promising you guys anyways. But once I get through them, I might jump into here and set up a few gigs myself and start driving traffic to the gigs. And we'll talk about that here in just a minute, because I think there's a real potential here, especially if you guys can train outsourcers to build for you, right? And I've got a team of VAs in the Philippines that do all kinds of stuff for me anyways, and I've got one of them trained that can start building. So it would be awesome to be able to come in here and sell sites for $75 at a pop, and then I could have them built for 10 or $15 by my VA or VAs, depending on how many I have, and just collect the difference, right? I mean, that would be sweet. Then it would be just a matter of how many people could I get to buy my gig, start driving as much traffic in there as possible, right? And that would be the key then, because it would be hands off for me. It would just be a matter of management at that point. I really wouldn't have to do anything but manage the projects. Okay. And then you can even hire a project manager for that kind of stuff if it's paying right. All right. So let me see if there's any questions. Ganti's the only one. He's always very interactive. So thank you, Ganti. Is Fiverr service provider pay $1 for $5 they get? I think so, Ganti. I've never sold a gig in my life. I've bought hundreds and hundreds of gigs, but I've never actually sold one, so I don't know. But I'm assuming that's the case, that they take $1. And now Fiverr charges the buyer 10% of the buy too, whatever the buy is. So like if you spend $5, it's 50 cents. So Fiverr's making money for sure. So the service provider only gets $4. Yes, that is 20% of the gig value that Fiverr takes. So if you provide your service for $100 and they take 20, or do they have it on a sliding scale? Of course, this is not my cup of tea, so this is only of academic interest to me and not commercial. I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know. Ganti, again, I've never sold any gigs on Fiverr. I don't know if it's a flat 20% fee for all gigs, or like you said, if it's at some sort of, the bigger your gigs, like a graduated scale, like you said, or sliding scale. I don't know. Guys, you just have to set it up and see. And if that's the case, adjust for that, right? Pass that off, or at least split the cost and pass half of it off to the buyer. What I mean by that is just raise your gig by whatever half the fee is, so that the buyer is actually paying it. I mean, this is pretty much uncharted territory here, guys, for this type of thing. I think on Fiverr, I don't think anybody's offering this kind of stuff on Fiverr. So, and I know, like my first thought was, no, that wouldn't work. But then I got to thinking about it, and actually, I think it would work. I think it would work really well. And hey, guys, it's worth testing. Until 39 leads is done and available for us to use, this is a good way to make money off the builds for the activity of building itself, right? And then, like I said, I mean, just in going through here, I just realized you could even probably sell banner spaces on existing sites. Like you could start building local sites for, statewide sites, for example, and then put up banner ads on Fiverr that, people can rent banner space from you for $5 a month, or $5 for 2 weeks, $5 for a week, and the upsell is $15 for the rest of the month or something. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of opportunity here just from thinking about this that, I think is available for us, right? I mean, again, it seems like you wouldn't make much money from Fiverr, but I think there is opportunity there because I've seen a lot of gigs recently. Like, for example, I just bought, let's see, I was going to see if I just bought a graphic set. It's right here. I just bought a graphic set for a course that I'm releasing for my other business. And you can, and this was, I bought it from Fiverr. It cost me $45 to get that done. Right. And so, I mean, I came to Fiverr to spend $5 and I spent 45. The guy did an amazing job and he delivered it to me in 3 days. The communication was great, but it cost me $45. It's totally worth it, by the way. But I'm just letting you know, I mean, I came to Fiverr and spent $45 and didn't even think, I didn't blink an eye. And so my point is there's a lot of people that do that. We in the IM space, the internet marketing space, are kind of, cheapskates, and we always want to try to get something for nothing. But when you're talking to business owners, that are coming into this, there's probably a different expectation. They have a different mindset than we do, right? So how do I delete? There we go. Anyways, that's just my thoughts. Bradley, is this method generating sales? Is method generating sales? Eddie, I don't know. I haven't done it yet. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is basically conceptual or theory at this point. I assume it would work well, but I don't know for sure. I'm sure if you drove traffic to these offers and you had them looking nice, something Brian brought up the other day that made good sense, guys. Think about it. If we got 10 or 15 or 20 of us in the group or more, whatever, as many as you guys want, to all buy each other's gigs and send the money back via PayPal, private PayPal message or whatever, but buy each other's gigs and then rate each other. And give us all, everybody give each other 5-star ratings and say, oh, this was awesome, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you build that social proof, which is a lot of the time all you need to jumpstart a gig on Fiverr. Again, not being a Fiverr provider, I don't know that, but I can tell you when I go to search for buying a gig, right? And I'm serious. I've spent thousands of dollars on Fiverr. If I go to buy a gig, I don't buy a gig from somebody that's a brand new gig provider that has no reviews. Right? What do we do when we go search for one? For example, like let's go up here and just say, let's go search for business leads and see what's there. Let's just say, for example, I will get you. I'm looking for business leads. Well, they have their algorithm which recommends. I'm assuming based on tags, but what I always do whenever I'm going to buy a gig, guys, is I go to high rating. So I sort by high rating. And sometimes it returns based on the keyword that I'm searching for. It will return, like when you sort it from recommended to high rating, it will become irrelevant results, right? Or results that aren't really relevant to what my search query was. But sometimes it does. In this case, I said business leads, and I would do local SEO citations and rank your website locally. But I'm always looking for high rating. So I'm looking for, number of reviews and high ratings. I don't really care how many reviews they have. I just want to see that they have at least a handful of reviews and that they're like 4.5 to 5 stars. Anything under 4.5 stars, I never buy. So my point is in order to kind of jumpstart this, it might not be a bad idea for us to do that, like to kind of get together as a group and say, okay, who's in with this Fiverr test? And let's all buy each other's gigs and give each other 5-star ratings, so that we can kind of jumpstart our Fiverr business. If that makes sense. Let's see. Eddie Dela Cruz. Let's see. What am I? Chopped liver? What's up, Eddie? I'm not sure what that one's for, but Michael Dawes says, would Upwork be a better place to get $75 gigs? Maybe, Michael. Upwork, which used to be Odesk, guys, I'm still having a hard time getting used to that. I imagine so. Like I use Fiverr for certain things like graphic design gigs and things like that. But for like bigger projects, I usually use Upwork or Odesk or whatever, or I hire a full-time VA. And if I'm going to hire a full-time VA, then I use a different source. But for like most contract or specific projects that I need help with, then I'll go to Upwork for that kind of stuff. And that you could certainly do that too, guys. Is set up. The only difference is there at Upwork, you don't sell gigs, so you don't have like set items that you sell usually. I mean, most of the time it's like contract work. So it's like hourly or quoted by project. In other words, you have skills that people are seeking and they'll come to you. And at least that's the way I've always used Upwork. I'm not sure if you can post like gigs to Upwork, because I've always just been a contract, I've always been an employer on Upwork. So I've always just contracted people to work for me. I've never provided services there. I may be wrong about that. You might be able to provide, because I know it's like from whatever I go there to purchase help or to seek help for projects, I look at basically walls of resumes and their skills and their reviews, and then they have an hourly price, and then I can negotiate. I can contact them and ask them to apply to my job posting, and then we can negotiate on price, or it's either by the hour or per project, or however we work it out. But I don't know if people actually go there and build and post gigs. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't know. I totally agree with you, Michael. That might be a better place to command a higher dollar from it. But I know there are people that are just crushing it on Fiverr. I know that for a fact. I mean, there are people there that have made like just killer incomes monthly on Fiverr, right? And I'm assuming that we could do the same thing if we put our minds to it. So Eddie says that's a good idea. Social proof. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that goes for anything in marketing, right? If you bring something to market with no social proof, it's hard to get started that way. But if you can get some social proof up front, then other people come, and that's like marketing 101, guys. It's just human nature. If other people are doing it, it must be okay, right? And so, I mean, we can kind of help manipulate that a bit if needed. Ganti says, not yet started in Clevermind to defeat the Fiverr system in our favor. Love that. Yeah, I think we could. Better to register for Fiverr with a persona. I don't think so, Ganti. Personally, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it with my own profile. And the reason I say that is because if you're going to provide a good service, then why hide behind something? Personally, I mean, other people here might have different opinions on that. I personally would kind of really want to put my name behind it, because if I'm going to provide a quality service, I want my name to be part of it so that I get credit for it. And, people seek me out then. I think for marketing purposes, you probably do better that way. However, that's debatable without a doubt. It depends on who you are and what you're doing. Like, I think if you have a persona on Fiverr already, you might get more traction. And again, I know this is pure speculation, but you might get more traction if you have a persona, a profile on Fiverr that has some length to it, some age to it. So I don't know that for sure, but like with me having spent thousands of dollars on Fiverr and bought many hundreds of gigs, maybe as a new seller on Fiverr, I might get a little bit better traction initially. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not, but I would assume it would. So anyways, guys, we'll walk through these slides that Brian prepared. And like I said, these are the same. You could see all this in his gigs. Just go to and just use those guys as it was fiverr.com/lead gadget, one word. But what I would suggest, guys, is that you don't copy his shit, just his stuff, just customize it yourself. Start testing different things if this is something that you want to pursue, and really try to stand out and be unique, because that's really what's going to get the difference. And guys, anybody here that decides to test this method, that wants a social, some social proof, just reach out to me. I'll be happy to do it. Just refund my money if I buy your gig and give you a review. Refund my money. That's all I'm saying, because I'm not coming out of pocket $75 for a bunch of you guys, and just so I can leave you a review. All right, I'll do it for you. Just send me back the money. All right. So note that. All right, so guys, Lead Gadget, he says exclusive Fiverr deals, a true leads generation machine, exclusive to Fiverr. So where he talks about setting up a company profile for $5. I'm not sure what that means. I'd have to get with Brian specifically to find out what he means by company profile. Please, maybe he just means like we'll set you up in our system so that we can build you lead generating machines for $5. It's going to cost you $5 just to get set up in our system. And then it's going to cost you $75 for us to build the site. And maybe that's what he means. We have to get with him to clarify that, but that would make sense to me. Like, hey, I'll set you up with a profile in my system so that if you decide you want to purchase the actual site builds, you're ready to go. It costs $5 to get access to the system, something like that, right? Please do not order any gigs until after you have given the keywords that your business needs. We will give you a correct bill to pay so that you know exactly what you are receiving. Guys, there's been gigs that I bought before where it says, like, for example, graphic design gigs, like illustration gigs. I've bought some like drawn art. So like illustrations, let's say illustrations. All right, so I've bought some, hand-drawn art before, like for some marketing purposes and stuff. And so a lot of the times there will be gigs where you go into and you'll go to order something and it'll say specifically in the gig, or also for voiceovers and for video gigs too, when you ask people to like, stand in front of like spokesperson type gigs where they're standing in front of the camera and relaying your script or your message. A lot of times those types of gigs will say, do not purchase the gig without contacting me first, so that they can start a dialogue with you, so that they can quote you on an exact price. Like, for example, with a lot of these illustration gigs that I've purchased, it'll say I'll do something for $5 or whatever, but it'll say, yeah, see, like right here, the first one I clicked on, attention, please write me before ordering. More information about your work, better results, otherwise your order will be canceled. So it's commonplace for people to require you to contact them before placing an order, or they will automatically refund and cancel your order. Okay, so keep that in mind when you go, if you decide you want to set it up. Because again, I would totally recommend that somebody would contact you first, so that you can get an idea of what type of lead site they need, so that you can quote them on the proper price. And guys, remember, look, I know this is probably not, it's probably against Fiverr's terms of service. I'm quite sure it is. But once you start a dialogue with somebody in Fiverr, don't you think that you could possibly provide services to them outside of Fiverr too? Right? You know what I'm saying? And bypass Fiverr to where Ganti, they're not taking your 20% or whatever the hell it is. Does that make sense? I know I've done it, guys. If anybody here works for Fiverr, I'm just kidding. but I know I've been able to contact some of these providers outside of Fiverr to get stuff done. So it's not that difficult. Exclusive to Fiverr, he says the gig you are ordering will include an exclusive website that will produce leads for you and or your company. The domain name and completed website is included in this gig for $75 per gig, I guess, each gig, up to 30,000 posts. That's a good disclaimer there, right? Because otherwise you'd have to limit it, okay? These sites will be hosted by us for 1 year for you. This gig is, I guess that would be a gig extra for $25 per site for the year. Remember, I don't think you can do multiples of 5, so you'd have to say $20 or $30, right? Let's see. The next one would be specialized landing pages for potential leads to be funneled onto or into. I think it should have been into, but these landers are optimized for maximum lead generation, or could be said optimized for maximum conversions. Landing pages are $90 per gig, right? That's not required, but that's an add-on. And I would obviously, if any communication, I had any communication with a potential buyer, I would obviously, upsell them and encourage them to purchase a, conversion optimized landing page, right? We will gladly do the keyword research and get a list of at least 20 keywords for your company for a $20 gig. Remember, only order company profile gig and we will work you a proper quote, or just message us, leadgadget/Fiverr. So very, very simple. And I think he just ran through this very quickly on his video. You guys can see the video on that gig that he did, and just use that as kind of like some ideas or a template that you can customize yourself. All right, so let's see. Ganti says social proof from several people, and they are all on Lead Gadget's Facebook group. LOL. Yeah, but you know what? Nobody knows that. Like business owners that would be purchasing these gigs, Ganti, they're not in the Facebook group, right? So, and your profile's not going to say Lead Gadget. Brian's does, but yours won't. And so, like, they're not going to know any better. So, I've got no problem with that. I think it would make sense to do it. So. All right, well, guys, that was it. That's all I had. I don't have any case study updates or anything, so I don't know if you guys want to talk about anything else. If so, post the questions, because if not, I'm going to wrap it up here in about 2 or 3 minutes. I think there's you know what? Let's talk about traffic to these for a minute before we wrap up. There's a few things you can do, and in fact, Brian posted, I think, on my my personal wall. Like, guys, I am not a Facebook user, and so bear with me while I try to find what Brian posted. This is it right here. Like, I hate Facebook, to be honest with you guys. I really do. Anyways, this is an article. I'll post this right here on the events page for you guys. And we're getting a storm here now, so if you guys lose me, it's because my power went out. And we'll reconvene next week. Anyways, there's an article here about how custom offers can take your Fiverr business to the next level, and you guys can read through this and see what they're talking about. But that's pretty cool. And then also there's this thing called Fiverr Anywhere that we went through the other day, that you can post Fiverr like banners, like on sidebars of websites. You can use, like, you can set them up as like ad formats, for example, which again, like I just mentioned, I hate Facebook. Let me rephrase that. I hate spending time on Facebook. I love Facebook for the traffic it can generate. And we spend at my other business, Semantic Mastery, we spend about almost $2,000 a month on Facebook ads. And it drives a lot of traffic into our business. I don't do the Facebook advertising. One of my partners handles all that. I just do the SEO stuff, but it drives a lot of traffic. So that said, and let me go ahead and post this link. We can get rid of that just a minute. I'll post this link on the events page too. That said, guys, you can also set up ads, right? Get your targeting really, really pinpointed to where you have, like in the sidebar of Facebook where ads show up, right? Which is, let's go, and I guess it's not showing on my wall. Let's go to the news feed. Okay, so you know how over here that if ads show up, you can have ads, plus you can do like those boosted posts, you know, and everything else, and drive traffic and say, does your pest control company need leads? Does your Northern Virginia area, I live in Northern Virginia, right? So the Northern Virginia area pest control company need leads? You know, click here to find out how. And then it clicks and takes them over to your Fiverr gig. Right? You could do that, or you could even click them, have them, you know, click to a landing page where then you send them to your Fiverr. So a landing page, you could have more information, like a video, you know, explaining what it is that your services are, and here you can go click over here to purchase them at Fiverr. And the question that Brian kind of answered for me was, why would somebody want to go, like, for example, go straight to Fiverr to buy your gig when they could just come directly to you? Well, because being on Fiverr gives you that social proof, and it's also a marketplace that's kind of a trusted marketplace now. It's becoming more well known even with people outside of the IM industry, right? And because of that, it's just a marketplace. So it's becoming more trusted, and having a presence there can actually give you credibility, right? Especially with the social proof that we were just talking about. So essentially, you could set up like a landing page, what's called a bridge page. A bridge page would be something that connects an ad to your destination page, but people have to stop there first before they go to the final destination. And since you're limited with how much information you can put on your gig page, I would suggest that would be worth testing anyways, and that would be to put up a bridge page where you could have a hell of a lot more information, like a bona fide sales letter explaining what it is that your services are and exactly what they'll get. And then click here to buy and take them over to Fiverr, right? I'm assuming that you could even probably embed some of these gigs in the actual sales page, because I think that's what that Fiverr Anywhere thing is, where you can embed like the actual gig and stuff like that. I haven't been through this, guys, like I said, but I think you can. Okay. So anyways, check it out. Let me know what you think. FYI for Fiverr, unless you want to show all the refunds to Fiverr, you're still going to be paying the 20%. Oh, cool, Elizabeth. I didn't know that. So essentially, if somebody refunds with you, you have to notify Fiverr that they refunded in order for you to get the 20% back. Is that what you mean? If you can clarify that, let me know. Anybody that has an experience with Fiverr, that's, you know, that's great. Let you know, speak up, because I don't. I bought, like I said, hundreds and hundreds of gigs, but I've never sold one. So, any idea what the next Thursday morning webinar topic? Hope you are not going to discuss the new ATM features. Hope you are not going to. I hope I am. Hope you save that for the next Thursday. Oh, I see. Sorry, Ganty. Morning sections are becoming very, very difficult for me to attend. Yeah, but there's always a replay, Ganty. And then the following week when you can attend, if you had any leftover questions or anything, you know, I'll be happy to answer them then. I hope to God I do. And talking about the updates next week. I'm holding my breath. Bill says best to go to a Facebook landing page, then the Fiverr for the gig. Yeah, something like that, Bill. I don't handle the Facebook ads for my business. One of my partners does, and we do really, really well with Facebook ads. So whatever, anybody here that has more experience in that, please just by all means do that, because or listen to them. I'd have to get my partner involved for me to be able to speak about it real intelligently. I just know we spend a lot of money on ads and it convert. We do well with it. So. A bridge page, even if the bridge page is a Facebook page, that'd be fine. Whatever. If that brings your ad cost down, your click cost down, that's great. Do that. So, Elizabeth's saying, "Yep." So she must be clarifying what she said. Okay, I didn't know that, Elizabeth. That's good to know. So, guys, if you set up gigs and you get have to refund, you have to notify Fiverr of the refunds too, or they keep 20%. So that kind of sucks. They should integrate with PayPal to where it's like automatic. If you have lots of refunds, you get a bad rating. Yeah, I would imagine so. I hope so. If you're providing a crappy service and people are requesting refunds, then you ought to have a bad rating, right? You ought to not be providing services, right? So, all right. So we just talked about a little bit of Facebook traffic. Setting up Facebook ads, guys. You could set up YouTube ads. I got kind of unrelated, but I hosted a webinar earlier this week with my other group. About YouTube ads, and YouTube ads are dirt cheap right now. So for example, for people that are looking for, like business owners that are looking like how to generate leads for my business, right? Or how to get leads from my business, or are searching for pest control leads in Virginia or whatever. Like there are lots of YouTube videos out there already, and some of them will display in what they call pre-roll ads. That how there's an ad that plays sometimes before the video plays that you landed on, and you can get ads in front of those and get clicks for literally pennies, guys. It's dirt cheap right now to do it. And there's YouTube ads is another way where you can get really, really targeted. Like I'm more familiar with that. I'm not familiar with Facebook because I'm not a fan of Facebook, but I've been playing with YouTube ads for a couple months now, and you can get really, really targeted with those. So you could do YouTube ads to drive traffic to your offers. You could build your own lead gadget sites and target, keywords, and then, like business keywords that you wanted. So for example, get pest control leads, and then do the national site builds like what we do with the local targeting, the hyper local targeting, right? So you could say pest control leads for every city in Virginia, for example. And in case anybody searches for that, which people do, you could possibly be ranked and generate traffic back to your building service that way, right? I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you guys could drive traffic back to your offers. Ads is the best or the quickest way, in my opinion, because it just costs you a few bucks to start driving traffic without a lot of work. And then if you find that your ads are converting well and you have an ROI where you're making positive money, then you can scale, right? If I give you $1 and you give me back $1.50 for every dollar I give you, then I'm going to try to give you as many dollars as I possibly can, right? I mean, that's just advertising 101, basic advertising, right? All right, so let's see. If you're refunding all the LG gigs that are bought just for social standing, you either have to pay the 20% or get a lousy rating because of so many refunds. Now, I see what you're saying, Elizabeth. I'm talking about, that's a small price to pay to get, in my opinion, if you're talking about for the social proof, Elizabeth, I understand what you're saying now. If we all purchased each other, but that's why I said to refund like privately, like send the money back to somebody via PayPal, not as an actual refund. I don't know if you missed that part of the webinar when I talked about it earlier. But yeah, if Fiverr gets to keep the 20%, then that's a small price to pay. I mean, it's part of getting your ad set up to where you can start generating revenue. So if you got to spend $20 to get somebody else to, review your gig, so be it. It's the cost of doing it, in my opinion. It's a small price to pay. But yeah, don't refund it. Send the money back via PayPal separately. Okay? That's what I was talking about. So I get what you're saying, and thanks for that. I wasn't talking about refunding, though. I was talking about sending it back. And yeah, you just have to, if you got to pay that 20%, then so be it. You pay that 20%. I'd be willing to do it if people were be willing to return the favor. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. Well, that said, guys, I don't see any other questions coming in. I'm going to wrap it up. We went almost an hour anyways. So hopefully next week we'll have a lot more to talk about. If anybody takes, actually runs with this idea, let us know how it goes. Please, for real. I'd like to know about it, because if it works, yeah, I get that, Elizabeth. She says just so people are aware and thinking it won't be free. Yeah, totally. Guys, be aware that there is a cost involved because of PayPal or Fiverr's fees. And that makes sense, but it's just, a cost of doing business, right? But hopefully you guys, if you do run with it, just let us know, because it's something that, once I get back into the swing of things, I would like to set this up and test this, because I've got some VAs, like I said, that can build for me. And it might be another nice source of revenue that's pretty much automatic if we get it set up properly and dialed in. Okay. Kevin says, how quickly will you be putting up training on the new ATM procedures? Kevin, as soon as it's available. I've got 2 local case studies that I'm going to be building out. I've been waiting patiently, just like all of you have, to get to that. So I'll be anxious to get started as soon as we can. So I will be posting the training videos outside of the webinars. Okay. I'll be adding them to just the YouTube playlists, and I'll be posting them as they get done. So it'll be like in real time, you guys will get them. And then we'll discuss the changes and questions based on the training series during the webinars. Okay. So as soon as they're available, I'm going to start on it, you guys. Just, I have limited time too. This is not my only gig, so to speak. So I'm going to squeeze it in as I can and get it out to you guys just as quickly as I can. Okay. Tony says, thanks, Bradley, and everyone for posting comments and links. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to wrap it up, and we will see you guys next week. Hopefully we have a hell of a lot more to talk about. Let me know how the Fiverr stuff goes if you guys do it, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.